Song Changji lowered his head before Jiying and began to stare at the ground in silence. Jiying started observing him, and his eyes widened with seriousness. Little Nine put her finger on her cheek. And her mouth watered. Our boy knew that if he cornered and fought against Song Changji, inevitably, his weaknesses would come to light. Instead, the most sensible thing would be to trap him inside his sea of consciousness to kill him directly using Little Nine, since as long as she did not emerge, it could not be considered a violation of the rules. Song Changji prostrated himself before Jiying as if he were a god. Our boy came out of his trance and, with a serene expression, mentioned that what he had said made sense, admitting that they both shared the same essence and origin. Luckily, his plan was already more than halfway completed, so he decided to spare his life. Upon hearing this, Song Changji could not help but thank him from the bottom of his heart. Jiying started to stare at him, extended his hand and with a confident gaze used his power. Explaining that he knew that Song Changji wanted to return to the cave, but mentioned that it was no longer possible to do so without damaging his origin. He advised him to enter his body, promising to personally take him back to the cave after dealing with the geniuses. Song Changji began to think and without overthinking it, accepted and thanked our boy, promising never to forget his kindness. Using his powers, Jiying extended his hand and absorbed Song Changji's body. Our boy's eyes began to shine with joy, and with a smile he revealed that it was too soon for gratitude. Song Changji was teleported to Jiying's sea of consciousness, which was filled with insects. And as if that weren't enough, there was also the dragon that our boy found in the tomb, and on top of it was Little Nine riding. Song Changji turned around and couldn't help but feel fear, not knowing what was happening. Little Nine rested her head on her hands, and her gaze fixed on Song Changji. She couldn't help but blush and stick out her tongue, since it had been a long time since she had devoured someone so powerful. Jiying gave her permission to eat, and without wasting a second, she transformed into the mother insect. While her eyes were glowing, she attacked him and began to devour him. Poor Song Changji started screaming in agony, begging for help. Jiying wiped his hand, turned to Jiying Wuxing and Yingzhan and asked why they were still kneeling. Their attention was fixed on Jiying. They were confused without knowing what had happened. Yingzhang's eyes filled with fear. He couldn't help but sweat and swallow hard upon seeing that Song Changji had knelt before Jiying. Jiying Wuxing, who despite being in shock, tried to remain calm. His mind was full of questions since the fight hadn't even started. He didn't know exactly what Jiying had said to Song Changji. The threads that were around the bodies of Zai Zuanu and the others disappeared. She stood up, placed her fist on her chest, and couldn't help but blush upon seeing that Jiying had saved her again. Liu Osandao approached our boy, closed her eyes, and with a grateful smile hugged him by the neck and gave thanks. Muhanu's eyes widened with admiration and love. With a smile she admitted that Jiying was her only god. Jiying remained silent, not knowing what to do. The attention of the others was fixed on them, and they could not avoid feeling jealous. One of Yingzhan's men put his hand near his mouth and with a sincere gaze mentioned that Jiying was too powerful and asked if they should continue fighting. Yingzhan felt somewhat embarrassed and with an angry gaze turned towards him and explained that Jiying had saved all their lives, so if they wanted to fight against him, it had to be after the battle for classification. Jiying stroked Liu Osandao's head and his eyes expanded with joy. He turned towards them and could not help but smile. There was still less than an hour left, and now that no one intended to keep fighting, he suggested going to the center of the secret realm to rest a little and eat a barbecue while waiting for the remaining time to end. Mahanku started looking at our boy with an expression full of admiration and began to smile. They went to the center of the secret realm, and using the system's inventory, our boy took out the barbecue equipment, and while a woman was preparing the food, Jiying and the others sat down to eat. Yingzhan grabbed a meat skewer and with a curious expression took a bite, thinking it was very good. Liu Osandao sat next to Jiying and with a smile said that he had a great appetite. Just then, a system window appeared in front of our boy, informing him that he had ascended from level 39 to 48. His attention was fixed on it. He was in shock upon seeing that he had jumped 9 levels at once. Not knowing if Little Nine had devoured Song Changji. Inside the Sea of Consciousness was Little Nine, who had already devoured Song Changji. Her eyes were full of satisfaction. She felt something in her mouth and used her hand to pull out a thread, thinking it was thorns. The thread was covered in Little Nine's drool. Jing paid attention and noticed that the thread was Zhu Landuo's soul. A status window appeared. This thread was a first-level divine weapon with several abilities. The first one was called Illusory Soul Collapse, which allowed the user to release spiritual energy, penetrate the enemy's sea of consciousness, and destroy their essence. The second ability was called Soul Lock, which allowed the user to absorb surrounding spiritual energy and convert it into their own. The third ability was called Soul Descent, which allowed the user to activate residual souls to form a powerful auxiliary spiritual body in combat. The thread had various descriptions. It was composed of countless souls of living beings, and after being nurtured with spiritual power for 100 years, it could fully fuse. The thread was currently incomplete and needed to merge with more souls to truly become a first-level divine weapon. It had evolutionary potential, so the more souls it devoured, the higher its quality would be and the more its level would increase. The special attribute of this weapon was that it could not recognize an owner or be temporarily activated. It required nurturing with spiritual power before it could be used. Jing appeared in the Sea of Consciousness, and his attention was fixed on the thread. With a serious expression, he realized why Song Changji had previously said that he needed time to refine the souls, realizing that the reason was that this weapon was not in its complete form. Now our boy had another hidden card that he could use. He decided to first nurture the thread with the help of the tree so that it would later recognize him as its owner. For him, raising equipment was not as profitable as raising insects. Little Nine's mind, who was flying beside Jing, was filled with confusion. She could not understand anything. The tree began to nurture the thread, and just then, a system window appeared informing him that the thread had been nurtured and could now proceed to recognize its owner. Jing was in shock at how quickly the tree had nurtured the thread. In reality, he had thought about nurturing it with divine soul energy to accelerate the process. The tree was nurturing the thread through a branch. For our boy, this tree was incredible, as it could not only protect his divine soul but even block the illusion of the great dreamer. Even when the ancient god tried to take over Jing's body, the tree had turned him into a fruit, and now it turned out that it also had a special effect on divine weapons. Jing took the thread, and the system notified him that the divine weapon had recognized him as its owner. Jing's eyes filled with joy, bringing a smile to his face. When he obtained the Hu Pio sword from the divine emperor of Juliu in the future, he would also give it to the tree so it could nurture it. With a curious expression, Little Nine began silently observing the thread. Fruits had grown on the tree again. This time one was green and two were blue. Jing was happy to see that the tree had borne fruit once more. And although they seemed low level, there was more than one. The system reported that the green fruit had the triple experience card, which could multiply the experience gained by 3 with a time limit of 3 hours after activation. The blue fruits granted the class change mission exemption card in the ability to allow our boy to skip the class change mission for a single profession. Jing put his hand on his chin, and with a curious expression, he began to read the information displayed in the system window. He couldn't help but smile upon seeing that he had obtained 2 class change mission exemption cards. He was level 48 and not very far from the 3rd class change, and now with the help of the card, he would be able to change classes directly later, making it very convenient. Jing's statistics window appeared. He was in the 2nd transformation and was level 48, with a combat power of 447 stars. Little Nine's attention was fixed on the system window, and her eyes widened in surprise and confusion. Jing snapped his fingers and remembered that he had also obtained a triple experience card. He decided to find a place to gain experience after leaving the secret realm and thought that perhaps he could complete the 3rd transformation. At the same time, In the great hall of the Church of the Ancient God, someone wearing a red hood placed their hand on their chin and began observing Song Changji through some portals. This person was the seventh pillar of the Church of the Ancient God known as the Lover. They couldn't help but laugh since they thought they needed to wait for the ranking competition, and they didn't expect that the Divine Sun could completely annihilate Darkseer's divine-level geniuses. Using their hand, they closed the portals and thought there was no need to keep watching and that it was time to act. The Lover was on top of a cliff and below were the other members of the cult. The Lover extended their hand and gave them the order to inform all headquarters that their allies in the caves, the marine race, and the forbidden zone of the depths should start stirring Darkseer's waters. Jiang Zuenji was going to be in charge of defending the cave, Jialing Qiu was going to face the old monk. And the great dreamer was not going to wake up for a while, and by the time she did, chaos would have already spread everywhere. And all the guardians of the realm and the sealed kings were going to be trapped in the quagmire without being able to free themselves. She was a red-eyed woman. She took off her hood, and her eyes began to shine with confidence. With a smile, she made it clear that Chuzhong was not going to have reinforcements and was inevitably going to be abandoned. And once the city was sacrificed, the rift beneath Chuzhong would open enough for the arrival of the ancient god. At that moment, the filthy human blood inside their bodies would be completely purified. Upon hearing this, the members of the cult raised their fists and began shouting, announcing the arrival of the ancient god. On the wall of Chuzhong, the night watch stood firm. On top of the wall were Jiaging and Tang. He mentioned that the 9 great regions of Darkseer, except for Humanges of Jinganan, had all entered into total rebellion. Jiaging began to observe the city and explained that the marine race and the cave races were on the move. The 8 great war zones of Darkseer had entered a first-level state of preparation, and although Chuzhong was not a striking city, they had to remain alert. Tang, who was sitting on the wall, turned to him and with a smile asked him not to worry since their great defense formation was already in its warming-up phase, and in less than half an hour it would be fully prepared. Jiagang's eyes widened with seriousness as they did not know how Jing Chen was doing, and according to the information he had obtained, it was said that the Jinganan team had entered the top 3. Tang began to show a finger and with a smile explained that this time, with Jing Chen and Jing Wushuing, securing 3rd place and fighting for first would not be a problem. She believed that Jing could obtain 1st place in the genius ranking, but that would depend on the subsequent ranking battles. While they were conversing, small explosions occurred in the city. Jiaging turned around and was confused, not knowing what was happening. Duan Feng and the others arrived. He began to shout, informing them that the transportation center had been destroyed and communication equipment had been cut off, and Chuzhong's city was being surrounded by a beast horde from all directions. A beast horde began attacking the city, and Jiaging knew this was not good. Now that transmission and communication had been destroyed, Chuzhong's city was isolated. He realized that this was a distraction to divert everyone's attention and attack the city. Jiaging approached the others and explained that the more critical the situation was, the less they could panic. He asked Duan Feng to maintain the defense of the wall and find a way to accelerate the full activation of the Great Defensive Formation and nuclear weapons. He entrusted Zhao Qi with the mission of activating the reserve emergency plan and finding those transferred who could transmit sound, and for those who could not receive it. Then she had to use loudspeakers and manual transmission. He entrusted Bu Lang with the mission of gathering all the transferred in the city and coming with him to the front to hold back the beasts. Everyone's eyes began to shine with determination, and they nodded their heads. With a furious gaze, he drew his sword and jumped off the wall, deciding to go to the front line to hold on for a bit and leave the rear guard to them. At the same time, Zhong and the others came out of the secret realm with a joyful gaze. Ying Zan began to look to one side and felt relieved. Jing's eyes were filled with tranquility. He was confused, not knowing where the people were. Jing Wushuing crossed his arms upon seeing that everyone had disappeared and mentioned that he had a bad feeling. Zhu Wenji manifested and with a sincere gaze said that he had 2 pieces of news. The first was that the main forbidden zones of Daxia, the marine race, and the caverns had been revealed, forcing the high commands of each war zone to go provide assistance. Everyone remained listening in silence. The second piece of news was that half an hour ago an urgent message had arrived from Kujang, one of Jiang Min's war zones. Our boy's eyes widened in fear, causing his jaw to drop. He did not know if his master and his senior sister had gone to help. Zhu Wenji's eyes began to shine, revealing that the southeastern coast was in chaos. The marine race had rebelled and forces had been sent there to suppress them. Upon hearing this, Jiang then asked who had been sent to Kujang. Zhu Wenji revealed that no one had been sent to Kujang since the city ranked last among Jiang Min's cities, and although it was cruel, in an emergency meeting, Daxia's high command had made the decision to abandon Kujang in order to protect the other cities. Upon hearing this, Jiang couldn't help but clench his fist and questioned whether they had not considered the possibility that this was a distraction strategy. Ying Zan's eyes widened in surprise, and his attention was fixed on Jiang's fist. Zhu Wenji explained that they had thought about it, but compared to Kujang, there were places where they could not allow any mistakes. And no one could ensure whether Kujang was just a decoy or the enemy's true target, revealing that Jiu Kaishan did not want Jiang to know this but left a residual projection to tell him. He extended his hand and asked what decision Jiang was going to make at this moment. Our boy started looking at the ground and explained that for Zhu Wenji, Daxia was the home they had to protect, and he understood that this was what people thought. His eyes began to shine with determination. He clenched his fist and started releasing insects, and decided to return to Kujang since for him it was his home and no matter how insignificant it was, he would never abandon it. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, so subscribe to our channel, share the video, and like. Jiang Wuxiang started to observe our boy, cracked his fingers, and with a smile decided to go with him. If Chu Jiang was in danger, it was the duty of the Jinganan team to help. Ying Zan's eyes began to shine with joy, and with a smile, he mentioned that he was also going to help Jiang. Jia Shanyu's attention was fixed on Jiang, and her eyes widened with determination. She clenched her fist and said that if any of them had problems, it was everyone's duty to help. Upon hearing this, Jiang turned towards them and remained silent. He could not believe that they were willing to help him. Zhu Wenji began to stare at our boy in silence. Jiang's eyes began to shine with joy, and with a smile, he thanked them all from the bottom of his heart. With a serious gaze, Zhu Wenji extended his hand, making the hologram of a powerful monster appear. He revealed that the city was being attacked by a beast tide and even the strongest warriors had little chance of surviving, much less young geniuses like them. He mentioned that they still had a bright future, asking if they were truly willing to go knowing they were going to die. The eyes of the lilac-haired woman widened with concern. She placed her hand over her chest, knowing that this battle was not the most suitable for her. Beside her was Hua Yanfei. His eyes widened in fear, making him unable to avoid swallowing hard and becoming nervous. Little by little, many of the geniuses began to feel afraid, knowing that being weak would only slow down the others. For Ying Zan and the others, it was a shame for the capital to have such companions as them. With an angry gaze, he gave orders for those who were cowardly and weak to leave since otherwise they would only be a burden on everyone else. Many of the geniuses, including Hua Yanfei, turned their backs on Jiang and the others and left. Seeing this, Zhu Wenji asked if Jiang really wanted to go save Chu Jiang. Our boy's eyes widened with determination, and with a confident gaze, he mentioned that even if the whole world was against him, he was going to save his city. Ying Zan began stretching his arms and, with a serious expression, explained that if his ancestors, the descendants of the human emperor, were here, they would undoubtedly praise Jiang Chen. Jiang Washuang joined his hands, closed his eyes, and began to meditate, explaining to his grandfather that he had managed to obtain an invincible heart and from this moment on, he was going to start his own journey. Jia Kunyu's eyes expanded with rage, she clenched her fists, and with a furious expression asked how there could be no one from her city helping. The others also filled themselves with determination since they could not say that they could not help when they shared the same city. Zhu Wenji's gaze fixed on them, he extended his hands to the sides and praised them for being brave. For him, it was no surprise that they were prodigies of the new generation of Great Xia. He decided to allow only the top 10 of the prodigy ranking to go to Chu Jing. He revealed that the others would be eliminated from the competition. Upon hearing this, the geniuses put their hands on their heads and could not help but panic. Zhu Wenji explained that the next phase of the competition had been cancelled and instead a battle of merits would take place. He used his powers, making a bracelet appear on Jing's wrists and those of the others. Our boy's attention focused on the bracelet, and his eyes widened with curiosity. Meanwhile, on the other side, Jing Washuang began observing the bracelet in silence. The bracelet was responsible for recording merits, and the final ranking would be based on merits obtained during battle. Zhu Wenji closed his eyes, started touching his chin, and decided to warn them one last time. The Great Xia could not afford to lose in weight, and if they died, they would only prove that they were not worthy enough. He asked them not to have illusions since if they wanted to survive, they could only rely on their own strength. Zhu Wenji opened his eyes and saw that no one was listening to him. Seeing this, he became somewhat confused. A portal appeared, Jing and the others began to enter inside it. Jing Washuang turned towards his grandfather and, with a confused expression, asked the old man to stop talking so much. Ying Zhang, who was walking towards the portal, thanked Zhu Wenji for worrying about them but admitted that his old persuasion trick was not going to work, asking him not to worry about them since they were not going to die so easily. Zhu Wenji began to observe them in silence, until he started stroking his beard and his gaze fixed on the sky. He was furious to see that they dared to say that he was old. With a smile, he decided to take them next time to the depths of the cave so they could see his imposing murderous figure, knowing that then they would not speak of him that way. To him, they were worthy of admiration and he hoped they would manage to survive. A lilac-haired woman fell to her knees on the ground, put her hands on her face, and began to cry, begging for forgiveness. Hua Yanfei fell to his knees on the ground and began crying, asking for forgiveness for being so fearful. One of the men extended his hand and asked them to stop crying since as long as they remained alive, they would not lack opportunities to become stronger. Besides, if Jing and the others died, they could take advantage of the opportunity to enter the ranking. On the defense line of the eastern sea of Jinganan, a horde of fierce sea beasts began to approach the coast, destroying everything in their path. The cannons on the defense line activated and started attacking the beasts. On the wall were Jiyu Kaishan and Duanfeng. Jiyu Kaishan's attention was fixed on the beasts, realizing that this tide of beasts seemed endless and that something was not right. He mentioned that this time the tide of beasts was very strange since, in terms of scale, it was undoubtedly one of the largest in history, but the battle was not intense at all. Duanfeng, who had his arms crossed, began to observe the beasts and asked if this was a distraction. Jiyu Kaishan explained that the attack by the sea beasts was only meant to draw the attention of elite forces. Duanfeng supported his knee on the ground and with a suspicious expression realized that the enemy's target was another. Upon hearing this, Jiyu Kaishan became serious and asked if the target was Kujiang city. Duanfeng stood up and with a sincere gaze said that he was not very sure. Since in addition to the forbidden zone of marine beings and the rebellion in the caverns, there were 5 more cities of Great Xia that were being attacked by beast tides, all being small remote cities, far from the main bases. Jiyu Kaishan's attention was fixed on him, he became curious and remained listening in silence. Duanfeng revealed that Kujiang was one of the cities that was being attacked, and no one knew for sure if the enemy's target was this city or another. While the cannons were attacking the beasts, Duanfeng revealed that Zunji had sent a message saying that Jiang Quan and the others had teleported from the main base of the Kaluo war zone to City Yi in the Jinganan war zone. Upon hearing this, Jiyu Kaishan did not take long to realize that they were planning to go to Kujiang. He could not help but panic since he had told Zunji not to tell Jing about the beast tied in Kujang. Jiyu Kaishan stood up and started running along the wall. He was furious and thought that Zunji was a traitorous dog. He decided to return for the sake of his disciple. In the past, he had already lost one and could not afford to lose another. Duanfang panicked and started running after him, asking him to calm down since besides Jiang Quan, Wen Zan, Zai Zhenyu, Jing Washwang, the Jinganan team was also in Kujang. Just then, a powerful sea beast emerged from the water, Duanfang and Jiyu Kaishan's attention fixed on it. This monster was the 8th Sea Emperor. And now that it had appeared, Jiyu Kaishan could not leave since if the defense line broke, Jinganan would face a great calamity. The beast prepared to attack. Jiyu Kaishan jumped up, drew his sword and decided to kill it. At the same time, in the city of Kujang, the warriors created a shield around the city. The tide of monsters began to attack the barrier, little by little creating small cracks. The commander of the troops, Yin Hengying, extended his hand toward the beasts and with a determined expression gave the order to all battalions of Kujang's defense legion to come with him and help close the breaches in K barrier, making it clear that if he died, the captain would take his place, and if the captain died, the lieutenant would take his place, and if the lieutenant died, the sergeant would take his place. The number of casualties did not matter since what was most important was buying time for the warriors in the rear. Outside the city, several beasts tried to attack Ji Gang, but he drew his sword and finished them off without much effort. While Aunt Tang's eyes were shining with hatred, she jumped and delivered a powerful kick to a flying beast, splitting its body in half. Chu Buling activated the celestial armor, making his body more muscular, without much effort. He caught a beast and using his strength split its arm in half. Shaoqi extended her hands, and her eyes began to shine with seriousness. She applied the buff of the sacred light on Chu Buling and asked him not to lower his guard since a devouring crow was behind him. After killing the beast, Chu Buling turned around and saw how the devouring crow was approaching him at full speed. He went on alert as a monstrous tentacle was wrapping around his arm, knowing he was in trouble. Duanfang, who was on top of the turret, attacked the beast with his bow, barely saving Chu Buling. Seeing this, he couldn't help but thank him, saying that he had arrived just in time. Ji Gang, who was somewhat tired, stood up and his attention fixed on Duanfang. He mentioned that if Duanfang, being the commander of the night watch, also died in battle, the night watch would become extinct. Duanfang asked him to stop being so pessimistic since they still had Jiang Chen. And as long as he remained alive, the night watch would never disappear. Duanfang, who was on top of the turret, saw 5 level 5 eagles and 2 level 6 celestial apes. He panicked upon seeing that the monsters were coming toward them instead of attacking the defense shield. He knew that a great battle was about to begin. But he didn't care and wanted to give his best, since he had already given the order anyway. If the defense shield broke, they would launch 8 nuclear bombs at the beasts. Ji Gang's eyes began to shine with rage. He raised his sword into the sky and asked the members of the Night's Watch not to forget the oath that united them all. Ji Gang and Aunt Tang began advancing toward the beasts. Xiao Qi, who was behind them, applied the buff of holy light on them. Chu Buling also started advancing toward the beasts. And Ji Gang swung his sword forcefully. A beast tried to attack Aunt Tang, but she jumped and with a single kick cut off its head. Chu Buling grabbed a beast and slammed it hard against the ground, and Xiao Qi applied the buff on him to help him. She looked up, and her eyes widened in fear and panic. She started screaming, asking everyone to be careful. The level 6 celestial great ape appeared and attacked with a fierce punch, but Ji Gang and the others reacted in time and blocked the attack with their hands. Little by little, Aunt Tang began to run out of strength. Ji Gang's gaze fixed on the beast, seeing that its pressure was too overwhelming. He realized that there was no way to dodge the attack. So it was better to face it head-on. They had been fighting for several hours and were already at their limit. They tried to resist, but it was in vain. The ape attacked, sending their bodies flying backward. Now that they were weak, the ape approached them and, with a penetrating gaze, it prepared to crush them with its foot. Ji Gang and Tang were kneeling on the ground, her eyes filled with fear upon seeing this. Ji Gang stabbed the sword into the ground, and his eyes widened in despair. He could not believe he was going to die like this. He had not yet been able to see Jing reach first place in the ranking of geniuses. Nor had he been able to boast to his master that he had finally advanced to the fourth transformation and mastered his sword. Just before the monster could attack, someone cut off its head. Ji Gang and Tang's gaze fixed on it. Both were in shock, not knowing what was happening. It was Jing. Once the monster's head fell to the ground, our boy placed his hand on it and, using poisonous mists, began to devour its head. His eyes started shining with joy, and with a smile, he revealed that he had returned to save the night watch. Jing extended his hand and used his power, making a shield appear. With a serious gaze, he asked Ji Gang and the others to enter the shield to recover while he took care of the rest. Ji Gang's eyes widened in surprise, and his jaw dropped. He didn't know if this was an illusion. Seeing Jing, Tang couldn't help but smile, and with a joyful expression. She said that it wasn't an illusion but the real Jing Chen. Ji Gang panicked, explaining that this was a beast's hide. Knowing that Jing had come alone to die, according to him. This was the end, since now the night watch was going to be annihilated. Jing turned towards them and with a smile realized that no one knew about the time he had used Little 9 against Xiao Zhengou. Little by little, the poisonous mists began to devour the ape's corpse. Our boy turned towards the corpse and asked Ji Gang and the others not to underestimate him, advising them to pay attention. Everyone's attention was fixed on the corpse, realizing that this was the power of the Calamity 9 miasma wings. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, so subscribe to our channel, share the video, and like.
Song Changji extended his hand, making threads emerge. He began to observe Zai Zhenyu with an arrogant expression and could not help but smile. Everyone was in shock to see that he had 2 classes of divine level, being an unprecedented legend in the history of Daxia. Not even Emperor Yingji back then had such talent. Xing and the others finally realized why Yun Junshan had acted unusually and had refused to form an alliance with them. Yun Junshan's eyes filled with joy. He extended his hand and, with an arrogant smile, apologized for not taking them into account, revealing that he did not consider anyone present important. According to him, Jiang Wuxian, Jiang Qin, and Ying Jian were all trash compared to Song Changji. Zai Zhenyu's father's eyes widened in surprise and fear as he realized that this time the Modu war zone was in danger. He began to sweat. Although he was not concerned about winning or losing, he was worried about his daughter's safety. Yun Junshan stood up, closed his eyes, and started laughing like a maniac, believing that this time his war zone would win. Du Caxon turned to the father and with a calm expression asked him not to pay attention to Yun Junshan's nonsense, since Jiang Qin was already on his way to help Zai Zhenyu and the others, revealing that the defeat was still uncertain. Zai Zhenyu, who was holding the bow, raised it into the sky. Hua Yanfei and the others extended their hands and created a barrier. The eyes of one of the girls widened in panic. She turned around and with a nervous expression explained to the captain that the illusory shadow of the extreme flame bow was weakening. One of the men who was invoking the barrier began to sweat and with a nervous gaze explained that he would not be able to hold on much longer. Zai Zhenyu's eyes were full of exhaustion. She began panting heavily without knowing if Modu's war zone would be annihilated. She had been training hard for this competition and wanted to impress Jiang. Just then, Hua Yanfei extended his hands and used the technique to summon the spirit of the night. Blue energy emerged from his body and transformed into a powerful knight. Zai Zhenyu's attention was fixed on him. With a worried and surprised expression she asked what he was doing. Hua Yunfei's eyes began to shine with determination. He swore that the team was not going to be annihilated, promising to protect the captain until death. He commanded his knight to attack. It moved quickly and struck forcefully at the threads that were in the sky. The attack was working as little by little the threads began to lose tension. Song Changji's attention, who was floating in the air with his arms behind his back, was fixed on it. He questioned whether Hua Yunfei thought that with his spirit and divine sacrifice he would be able to break his threads. He admitted that although he had talent, unfortunately, it was still not enough to impress him. His eyes widened in confusion and his gaze was fixed on Hua Yunfei. Hua Yunfei's eyes began to shine. He opened his mouth and started screaming. His power was becoming stronger and stronger. He was using his vital essence in exchange for explosive strength. Song Changji did not know if this guy wanted to commit suicide. That long after, Hua Yunfei's body exploded into pieces, and upon seeing this, Zai Zinyu's eyes filled with tears and sadness. With this increase in power, the spiritual knight pierced the threads, breaking the net that was in the sky. Seeing that the net had been broken, Song Changji extended his hand and used the technique called Star Weaver, making another net appear, leaving everyone in shock. His eyes began to shine with rage, and while he was weaving the net with his fingers, with an arrogant gaze he asked if Hua Yunfei really believed he could break the net by sacrificing himself, calling him stupid and revealing that he could weave the net more than once. He was tired of playing with them, so he decided it was time to kill them. The thread net began to close in, causing the barriers to gradually start breaking, and Zai Zinyu fell to her knees on the ground. The thread net shattered the barriers into pieces and, in the process, began to massacre the members of Zai Zinyu's team, causing them terrible pain. While holding the bow with one hand, she placed the other on the ground and, with a sorrowful expression, apologized for having disappointed Jing. The members of Song Changji's team were joyful to see that he had defeated them so easily. At that moment, the sky filled with black clouds and thunder. Someone riding a phoenix made of thunder began advancing toward them. Everyone's attention was fixed on the phoenix. No one knew what was happening. Just before they could realize it, the phoenix moved quickly and in an instant, passed through the middle of them, electrocuting everyone in the process, making them scream in agony. Upon hearing the screams, Song
Changji turned towards the cliff, and his eyes widened with seriousness and concern. Seeing thunder, he realized that his team of useless people had been annihilated. At first, he thought it was the punishment of thunder, but then he dismissed this theory since the punishment of thunder only struck those who remained still. He did not know who had annihilated his team. The thunder phoenix began to fly through the sky, and on top was Jing Chen riding it. With a worried expression, he started shouting and asked Zai Zinyu to hold on a little longer. Upon hearing Jing's voice, a light of hope appeared in Zai Zinyu's eyes. She could not believe that Jing was riding a thunder phoenix and had come to save her. Jing gave the order to his phoenix to attack. It started moving quickly, electrocuting Song Changji's clones. He was in shock upon seeing such pure power. While Jing was eliminating the clones, Song Changji's attention, who had his arm behind his back, focused on him. In this new era, the heavenly path of this world was very generous with them, with just a single profession change. They had obtained the original classes that countless races in the caverns took hundreds of years to achieve through cultivation. According to him, this was truly unfair and detestable. Jing descended to the ground, clenched his fist, began to stare at him, extended his hand, and gave the order to his phoenix to eliminate the clones, while on the other side, he decided to break the net. He used the power of the divine elephant's body and attacked with a powerful punch, which broke Song Changji's thread net without much effort, creating a great curtain of smoke. Once the curtain of smoke disappeared, Jing observed carefully and realized that the net had regenerated again. He decided not to give up and began to attack with a chain of punches. He wanted to see who was faster, if Song Changji weaving the net or his blows. Not long after, the net finally broke. Jing began to observe him and while pointing at the net with his thumb. With a smile, he said that his net was very slow. Zai Zinyu, who was holding back the power of the net with the help of her bow, closed her eyes and began to tremble. She could no longer endure. An excited smile appeared on Song Changji's face. He extended his hand towards Jing and admitted that his strength was really good but made it clear that it had been a big mistake to lower his guard. He used the technique called Thousand Threads, making a tornado appear. The tornado began to move towards Jing Cheng. Our boy put his arm in front of his face and in a low voice called Zai Ogia and asked for his help to devour the net, advising him to be discreet. Zai Ogia accepted. Zai Ogia manifested his small dots and little by little began to devour the tornado. Song Changji could not help but feel somewhat confused upon seeing this. He could not believe that the small points of light could corrode his thread tornado. Jing approached Zai Zhenyu and placed his hand on her shoulder. Her eyes widened with surprise and love upon seeing that Jing had come to save her. With a serious gaze, Jing began to stare at Song Changji and asked her to hurry up and go somewhere safe. The Thunder Phoenix began to fly through the sky, massacring and electrocuting the clones. Little by little, the energy of his phoenix was running out, so he asked her to hurry up and leave. Just then, Ning Zan and his men arrived at the area. He was somewhat surprised to see that everyone was here, revealing that today none of them would be able to escape. Upon hearing his voice, Jing and Zai Zhenyu turned around. Our boy's attention was fixed on him, entering into alert mode. But then Jing Washwang and the others appeared and informed Jing that they had arrived. Seeing this, Jing turned around and mentioned that they had arrived just in time. He started running and decided to take care of Song Changji, leaving Jing Washwang to handle Ningzan. Jing Washwang clenched his fists, and while his eyes were shining, he began to run towards him, using his power to make energy fists emerge from his body, which started to approach Ningzan, revealing that today he was going to be his opponent. Ningzan stood still, watching in silence. He jumped, used his power, and counterattacked with a powerful punch, shattering Jing Washwang's energy punches, revealing that his war god body was not going to be enough to defeat him. Jing Washwang's eyes began to shine seriously. He stepped back and, with a penetrating gaze, released the 9 restrictions, causing the chains attached to his body to break. With a furious expression, he stood up and used the technique called Invincible War God's Body. His own giant spirit with 9 arms emerged from his body. Ningzan remained silently observing. His eyes began to shine with excitement. He extended his hand to one side and used his power, summoning a blood dragon, making a powerful red dragon appear behind him. For him, this was quite interesting. With a smile, he mentioned that according to Jing Washwang's grandfather had killed the dragon race in the underground cave. He wanted to see if his legitimate grandson was as powerful as him. Jing Washwang's spirit and the dragon began to fight each other. Luo Sandao and Mu Hanku arrived at the area. She placed her hands on Zai Zenyu's shoulders and with a serious expression asked her to come with them to face the people from the capital. Mu Hanku started observing her and explained that they should not interfere in. Zai Zenyu turned towards them and with an indecisive gaze accepted. Jing Washwang's eyes were shining with hatred. While Song Changji was watching the battle, someone caught his attention. He became curious and turned around. The Thunder Phoenix descended to the ground. Jing began to stroke its head and with a confident smile asked if he was ready for combat. Song Changji's eyes widened with excitement. Using his power, he began to absorb his clones and couldn't help but smile upon seeing that Jing Cheng, Ying Zan, Jing Washwang, and Jiayin Zhenyu, the 4 divine geniuses of Great Xia, had gathered. It was no longer necessary to wait for the genius ranking battle, nor was it necessary to continue pretending to be of their inferior race. He decided to use his 30% power. Upon hearing this, Jing's expression changed and he became suspicious. With a confused expression, he asked what he meant. Song Changji extended his hand. An angel wings emerged on his back while his eyes turned white. With a smile, he decided to release the origin restriction and restore the true body of the tanking divine clan. He used his power and restricted entry and exit to the secret realm. An energy platform appeared under his feet. Jing began to observe carefully and it did not take long for him to realize that the tanking divine clan was one of the 10,000 races of the cave. Upon hearing this, Ying Zan's eyes widened in fear. He turned around and asked everyone to leave the secret realm, but then a powerful energy began to descend from the sky. Jing Washwang fell to his knees on the ground, clenched his teeth, and with a worried expression revealed that he could not move. Song Changji's eyes widened with malice. He extended his hand and with a smile revealed that it was already too late. The entire secret realm was under his control. Now no one could move or leave. And no one from outside would be able to enter. Originally, if they died here, they could still revive outside, but now that he was here and completely refined their divine souls, then no one would be able to revive. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, so subscribe to our channel, share the video, and like. Thanks to the help of the angel wings, Song Changji began to fly, and his eyes expanded with malice, making a confident smile appear on his face. He knew that both Jing Shanji and Jiulinkyu were watching everything from outside the secret realm. He asked what they felt at this moment and whether Jing Shanji remembered when he had killed his sister on the northern battlefield in the cave back then, revealing that today he had come to cut the roots of their great seer. Jiu Kaishan's attention and everyone's was fixed on that. They were somewhat confused as they did not know how a member of the tanking divine clan had been able to infiltrate. No one could hear what he was saying since the surveillance system had no audio. Someone among them could read lips and finally revealed that an anomaly had occurred in the secret realm. And Song Changji had trapped the remaining geniuses and was planning to execute their strongest geniuses in front of everyone. Song Changji's eyes began to shine with rage, with a piercing gaze. He extended his hand towards Jing and the others and then used his power, making threads emerge from his fingers. Jiu Kaishan's gaze and Zai Zinu's father's gaze fixed on him. The father quickly realized that this was the innate ability of the tanking divine clan called 1,000 threads. A panic, since this ability allowed the user to weave a net with countless souls intertwined like a cursed rope, being especially effective for annihilating divine souls. Jiu Kaishan became alert as he knew this was not good. Jing and the others were trapped inside the secret realm and couldn't even self-destruct to escape, and if their souls were erased, they would die. The general of the war zone of the capital lost his composure and with a furious gaze launched a powerful attack towards Yan Zhentian, shattering the ground into pieces. He was furious since he had betrayed Dahlia. Yan Zhentian put his arms in front of his face and blocked the attack, swearing not to know that Song Changji was a member of the divine clan tanking. The general's eyes began to shine with hatred. He clenched his fist and with a furious expression said that he was going to kill him since Yan Zhentian was the only descendant of the human emperor, their last hope. Yan Zhentian stood firm in his word and explained that he had nothing to do with the divine clan tanking, and even if he died, he would not be able to save Yan Zhentian. Just before things could escalate to the next level, a powerful burst of energy descended to the ground right in the middle of them. Yan Zhentian turned his head toward the burst of energy and the general stopped dead in his tracks. They did not take long to realize that this was the energy of the god of the sword and the god of war. Yan Zhentian's eyes widened in surprise as Jiulinkyu and Jing Shanji emerged from the burst of energy. Jiulinkyu clenched his fists and with a serious gaze began to look to the side. He could not believe that over such a small matter as this, they had already panicked, realizing that they had been living in peace for too long. Jing Shanji, who had his arms behind his back, began to stare at the general, and with a calm expression asked if all of them were going to surrender to the enemy if one day the entrance of the underground cave was attacked and destroyed. The general swallowed saliva, began to observe Jing Shanji and did not say a single word. Jing Shanji approached the king of the celestial sword and fixed his gaze on him. He asked how many offspring Jing Chen's 9 miasma wings had produced. If he had more than 100,000 offspring, then he could use them to cause an explosion that could turn this situation. Fu Caxon's eyes widened in surprise and confusion. With an uncertain gaze he replied that he did not know since he had never asked Jing Chen about it. Jing Shanji's eyes began to shine with seriousness as he remembered that no more than a week ago, Jing had used more than 1 million offspring, realizing that raising 100,000 more was an impossible task. While he was distracted, Jiu Lingqiu approached and with a suspicious gaze said that although it was a shame that the lives of the geniuses were in danger, this was more than a coincidence. Upon hearing this, Jing Shanji came out of his trance and his mind was filled with curiosity and surprise. Jiu Lingqiu explained that the divine tanking race was in the deepest part of the underground cave. And wanting to disguise themselves and come to Dahlia was not an easy thing. He had a vague feeling that similar events were going to take place in other locations. Jing Shanji's eyes filled with concern. He began to gaze at the ground and thought that he was right, but he reminded Jiu Lingqiu that his main body was suppressing the underground cave. So there should be no problems with it. He began to imagine a scientific facility and mentioned that if more related events were going to take place, then it should be at Dahia's main headquarters. Besides the headquarters, there were also the 9 forbidden zones, such as the Whitebone Temple located deep within Qinling. Jiu Lingqiu felt something, turned around, and with a gaze full of fear revealed that the related events were about to begin. Just then, at the top of the cliff, a red temple appeared, which began to emit an evil energy, and in front appeared a man. Everyone's attention was fixed on the temple. They were in shock, not knowing if this was an illusion. They noticed that the man did not have the appearance of the human appearance, nor the appearance of the living. He was an old man, his eyes began to shine with malice. And a smile appeared on his face when he explained that the appearance of the self was precisely having no appearance, and that when all appearances were separated, they were called Buddhas. He recognized 2 of his old friends and introduced himself as a monk with diamond sutra. Without losing a second, Jiu Lingqiu drew his sword, began to point at the monk with it. And with a furious expression, he demanded to know what the old monk from the Whitebone Temple was doing here and how he dared to come out at this moment to cause trouble. Jing Shanji turned around and his attention fixed on the monk. He began to observe him with a serene expression. A wicked smile spread across the monk's face as he revealed that all the young people here were going to hear his sutra, and would soon attain enlightenment. Jiu Lingqiu became alert and turned around without knowing what the monk had in mind. Just then, a strange energy appeared in the place, slowly affecting all the geniuses, making their eyes turn white. Seeing this, Jiu Lingqiu quickly realized that the monk's target was Daji's geniuses. Jing Shanji knew that this was not good. While his eyes were shining, he began to shout and asked the geniuses to wake up and not fall into the trap. Upon hearing his voice, most of the young people woke up, their eyes widened with surprise and fear, making them sweat. Some of the geniuses did not wake up, while on the other side, a brown-haired girl opened her eyes and with a gaze full of terror began to gasp heavily. The eyes of the boy who was next to her widened in surprise. He placed his hand on his chest and could not help but panic without knowing what was happening. The monk became angry and mentioned that preventing others from understanding the Tao was not tolerated by the celestial mandate, advising them to be careful with divine retribution. Upon hearing this, the attention of Jiu Lingqiu and Jing Shanji was fixed on him. Just then, the heads of the geniuses who had not woken up were cut into pieces, the boy and the girl turned around, and upon seeing this, their jaws dropped and their eyes widened in fear. The monk explained that fortunately, the blessed geniuses had already ascended. For him, it was a pity because if Jing Shanji had not intervened, in just 2 more seconds, more geniuses would have ascended to supreme bliss. Jiu Lingqiu could no longer contain himself. He gathered momentum and with a leap began advancing toward the monk with a gaze full of hatred. He decided to take care of this demonic monk since when he cut him into pieces, he would not have the strength to attack. He also explained to Shanji that the change in the secret realm was only the beginning and that a single movement could affect the entire body. Asking him to stand firm and return to the cave, Jing Shanji looked to the side and saw black smoke emerging. His attention fixed on them and he did not take long to realize that a great calamity was upon Dahlia. With a determined expression, he called the attention of all the kingdom's guardians, giving them the order to return to their war zones to defend them, and that there must be no mistakes. All the kingdom's guardians jumped and began to return to their posts. They knew that the general situation was important, swearing to Jing Shanji to protect Dahlia with their lives and redeem their sins with merits. Shanji's attention, who had his arms behind his back, and Jiyu Kaishan's attention were fixed on them. They began to ponder in silence. Jiyu Kaishan turned his back and with a gaze full of determination revealed that if Jing Chen lost his life in the secret realm, once this was over, he was going to follow Jing Shanji to the cave and annihilate the entire Tanking divine tribe. At first, Jing Shanji remained silent. But then his eyes widened in surprise and something caught his attention. In front of them was a screen showing what was happening in the secret realm. Jing Shanji and Jiyu Kaishan's eyes widened in surprise as they did not know what was going on. Inside the secret realm, Jing was standing in front of Song Changji, who was kneeling on the ground and bleeding from his mouth. Seeing this, Jing Shanji couldn't help but laugh, and although he didn't know the reason, it seemed that there had been an unexpected turn inside the secret realm. Now that Song Changji was kneeling before Jing Chen, they could be at ease. 5 minutes ago, Ying Zan, whose eyes were shining, placed his hand on the ground and gave the order to his blood-armored dragon to attack. Not far from him was Jing Wushuing, who with a furious gaze, ordered his god of war body to tear Song Changji into pieces for him. Most of them were injured. The attention of Song Changji, who was flying, focused on them. He couldn't help but smile and asked why they were wasting their strength and if they didn't know that the more they exerted themselves, the more they would suffer from the reaction of their own power. He told them not to rush because once he finished refining the souls of the beautiful girls, it would be their turn. He used his power, causing the threads to wrap around the bodies of Zai Shanyu, Mu Henkyu, and Yu Osandao, who opened their mouths and began to scream in pain. Song Changji decided to first break their spiritual forces. Jing, who had his hand on his knee, began to stand up and his eyes started to shine with rage, making him clench his teeth. Little Nine was eager to eat meat. But Jing asked her not to rush since unless it was absolutely necessary, she could not expose herself. He asked her to wait as he was going to think of a solution. Now that Little Nine was so hungry, she was capable of killing her opponent with ease. However, Jing had made a promise not to use Little Nine in this competition. Jing's gaze fixed on him, apart from Little Nine. He had many cards up his sleeve, but without understanding the opponent enough, he could not be reckless. Otherwise, even if he could protect himself, he would not be able to ensure that his companions did not lose their lives. Song Changji's eyes turned white and a smile spread across his face. Jing used the system, making his status window appear. His real name was Shu Lan Duo and he belonged to the Tianqing divine race, being the 19th heir in the line of succession with a level 6 power. He was acting as a secret agent for the Church of the Ancient God and had descended to Dahlia through an abyssal rift, suppressing the source and disguising himself as a genius with a dual profession. The divine Tianqing race occupied the 61st place among the 10,000 races and was a secondary branch of the 3 main primordial divine races. Furthermore, he possessed the Tianyan Pearl, which served to block the perception of the heavenly Tao. With a curious gaze, Jing began to think and found a way to defeat this guy. He asked if still had the divine and demonic blood essence that they had previously packed in Jialai's sacred treasure. He asked him to give him a drop. Ekshajaya, who was sleeping like a log, revealed that there was nothing left since he had eaten it all. Ekshajaya transformed, and while his eyes were shining, he extended his hand towards Jing and mentioned that if he wished, he could extract the drop of blood from his body to give it to him. He added that the blood essence he had refined had the same effect as the original with fewer side effects, swearing that he would not explode and die. Upon hearing this, Jing's eyes filled with joy and a smile appeared on his face. He decided to first use a little blood to break the restriction and save the rest for later. Once Ekshajaya gave Jing a drop of his blood, he stood up, and his body began to emit a powerful energy. Song Changji's attention was fixed on him. He was confused to see that Jing could move and did not know how he had escaped from the web of threads. Once Jing stood up, he used his power to summon a barrier. Seeing this, Song Changji couldn't help but laugh without knowing why he had summoned a barrier. He mocked Jing by asking if he was afraid of screaming too much when dying, and that others would hear him, making it embarrassing. Jing stood firm and called Song Changji by his real name, Shu Lando, revealing that he knew about his plans. Song Changji descended to the ground, and while walking towards him, he began looking at the ground and asked who Jing was and how he knew his real name, remembering that the real name of the 10,000 races had never been revealed. Jing's body began to emit a penetrating energy. He mentioned that Song Changji was not worthy of knowing who he was. He put his arm in front of his face upon feeling Jing's strong aura. Without knowing if he was an ancestor of the Ming clan, Jing approached him, and while his eyes were shining with hatred, he began to stare at him and ask how the Tianqing divine tribe had become so incompetent, and how the number 19 in the tribe's succession was so foolish. The eyes of the arrogant Song Changji filled with fear. He panicked as he did not expect that Jing also knew his secret position in the line of succession. He wiped the sweat from his chin and his eyes widened in terror, and upon seeing that Jing knew this, he thought that he had a higher position than the leader of his clan. With a trembling voice, he asked if Jing was from the divine tribe. Jing's eyes began to shine. With a suffocating expression he pointed at him and asked if Song Changji could not feel the aura of the ancient god in him. Upon hearing this, he swallowed saliva, realizing that he was going to be crushed. Our boy was furious and mentioned that the church of the ancient god acted too recklessly. He could not believe that they had sent Song Changji here without properly investigating, ruining his plan. For him, the members of the church and Song Changji had to die. Song Changji fell off his knees on the ground, lowered his head before Jing, and begged him to spare his life, explaining that they knew they had made a mistake. For him, not knowing that the god was here had been a misunderstanding, and that the Tianqing divine tribe originally belonged to the primordial divine tribe, which meant that they shared the same roots in origin. He pleaded for Jing to spare his life. Our boy began to look at him in silence. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, so subscribe to our channel, share the video, and like.